You've done it 1,000 times. You probably didn't think about it once, but here's a question that sounds almost too dumb to ask until you actually try to answer it. Where did kissing come from? Think about it for a second. Really think. Two people press their mouths together and somehow that means love, or hello, or goodbye, or respect. Why? Where's the instruction manual? Who was the first person to look at another human face and decide, yeah, I'm going to put my lips on that? Seriously, sit with that for a second, because the answer is so much older and so much stranger than you'd ever guess. This isn't a habit that started a few hundred years ago. It's older than farming, older than writing, older than the wheel, older than cities, older than the first word ever carved into stone. And this is the part that breaks people's brains. It might be older than our entire species. There are really two questions hiding inside this one. The first is the easy version. When did humans start kissing? But the second is far weirder. Did humans invent kissing at all, or did we inherit it from something that wasn't human tens of millions of years before we showed up? And the strangest part, we still don't fully agree on where it came from. But the trail of clues is incredible. To understand this, you have to picture the world before any of it. Before the love songs. Before the wedding vows. Before a single person had ever written the word kiss down. Because before you can kiss someone, you need something surprisingly specific. You need a reason to bring your face that close to another creature's face, which, in a dangerous world, is one of the most vulnerable things you can possibly do. Get that close to a mouthful of teeth and you're trusting that mouth completely. So picture our distant ancestors, not in a house, not in a village, in the trees and later on the ground, covered in fur, grooming each other for hours, picking through hair for dirt and bugs and burrs. No language, no romance as you'd recognize it, just bodies and touch and the constant work of staying close to the ones who kept you alive. And somewhere in all that fur and grooming and closeness, something started that never stopped. Now here's the first thing that should stop you cold. You probably assume everyone kisses, that it's just what humans do. Everywhere, always. It's the opposite. When evolutionary biologist Matilda Brindle at the University of Oxford went looking at kissing across human cultures, she found romantic kissing documented in only about 46% of them. Fewer than half. Read that again. In more than half the cultures ever studied, pressing your lips to your lover's mouth is not an obvious natural thing to do. Some societies found the whole idea strange, even a little gross. Early European explorers who kissed were sometimes met with disgust. Why does that matter? Because it kills the easy answer. If kissing were some hardwired human instinct, everyone would do it. They don't. Which means the story is messier than humans just naturally kiss. It's something we pick up or don't. A spark that catches in some places and never lights in others. But here's where it gets strange. If it's not even universal to humans, why do we keep finding it in animals that aren't human at all? In 2024, a primatologist named Adriano Lemira at the University of Warwick put forward an idea with the best name in science, the groomer's final kiss hypothesis. Here's the thought. Watch great apes, chimps, bonobos, gorillas groom each other. It's not random. It's the glue of their whole social world, hours of careful attention, one ape working through another's fur. And at the very end of a grooming session, the groomer often does something specific. They purse their lips against the skin and give a little suck to pull off the last bit of debris or a parasite. Lips protruded. A little suction against another body. Sound familiar? Then something happened to us. We lost our fur. And once you're mostly bald, all that grooming has almost nothing left to pick through. The hours of hygiene became pointless. But Lemira's argument is that the last move, that final lip press at the end, didn't disappear. It got stranded. A leftover gesture from a ritual that no longer had a job, still carrying its old meaning. I'm close to you. I'm taking care of you. You're mine. The kiss, in other words, might be the fossil of grooming. The last surviving second of something our ancestors did for millions of years. That's not romance. That's a parasite removal technique that ran out of parasites and kept going. And it raises an obvious question. If kissing is a leftover from ape grooming, exactly how far back does that leftover go? This is where it gets wild. In 2025, Matilda Brindle and her colleagues Catherine Talbot and Stuart West tried to do something almost no one had done, put a date on the kiss. They treated kissing like a biological trait, the way you track eye color or a bone shape down a family tree, and ran millions of simulations across the primate family tree using a method called Bayesian modeling. Where on the branches did kissing first appear? The answer came back the same, over and over. Kissing traces to a single common ancestor of all the great apes. And that ancestor lived somewhere between 21.5 and 16.5 million years ago. Let that land. Not 21,000. 21 million years. That's before there were humans. Before there were chimpanzees. Some furry, forgotten ancestor was already doing the thing you did last Friday night. Now, is this settled fact? No. And it's fair to say so. You can't dig up a kiss. It leaves no bone, no tool, no fossil. This is a reconstruction, a best estimate from the pattern of which living apes kiss and which don't. But the signal was strong enough that the same deep ancient origin kept surfacing. So kissing wasn't really invented by people at all. Which raises the question, then what were people doing when they finally started writing it down? Fast forward, way forward. To the first time a human being ever recorded a kiss in writing. For years, the textbook said the oldest written kiss came from a Bronze Age manuscript in India, around 1500 BCE, about 3,500 years ago. Then, in 2023, two researchers blew that date apart. Troels Pank Arbol from the University of Copenhagen and Sophie Lund Rasmussen from Oxford, a married couple, which is a nice touch for a study about kissing, went digging through cuneiform clay tablets from ancient Mesopotamia. That's modern Iraq and Syria, the place where writing itself was basically born, and in the wedge-shaped marks pressed into that clay, they found kisses. In a Sumerian myth on something called the Barton Cylinder, gods have sex and then they kiss. That tablet dates to around 2500 BCE. That's at least 1,000 years older than anyone had credited. Publishing in the journal Science, they pushed the written history of the kiss back to 4,500 years, and they were careful to say it wasn't the invention of kissing, just the oldest surviving note about it. Picture that scribe. You're sitting in the heat, a reed stylus in your hand, wet clay in front of you. You're not writing poetry for the ages. You're writing down a story about the gods. And, almost by accident, you press the oldest kiss in recorded history into a lump of mud, and it survives 4,500 years, long enough to end up on a screen in front of you right now. By the time of ancient Rome, kissing was so woven into life they had different words for different kinds. The osculum, a kiss on the cheek. The basium, a kiss on the lips. And the savium. Well, that was the kind you don't do in front of your parents, but that closeness came with a hidden cost. And this is where the story turns dark. Here's the thing about pressing your mouth against someone else's. You're not just exchanging affection. You're exchanging everything living in your mouth. The same trove of tablets includes some of the world's oldest medical texts. And in them is a disease the Mesopotamians called bujshanu, with symptoms clustered around the mouth and lips. Sores, blisters, sound like anything? It reads unsettlingly like herpes simplex HSV-1, the cold sore virus. Now, be careful here, and the researchers are careful too. You can't diagnose a 4,000-year-old disease from a clay tablet, and they don't claim you can. But the possibility is haunting. As kissing spread, so did whatever rode along on it, and that virus is still winning. Today, the World Health Organization estimates that roughly 2/3 of everyone on Earth under 50, around 3.7 billion people, carry HSV-1. Read that again. 2/3 of the planet. A silent passenger handed person to person, mouth to mouth, in a chain that may stretch back further than any city. Every group that took up kissing took on that risk. They got the closeness. And the cold sores. That was the deal. It's still the deal. There's one last layer though, and I saved it for the end, because it's the strangest part of all. Remember that 21 million year trail? Follow it forward and it runs straight through someone you've been taught to picture as a brute. The Neanderthals. When Brindle's team mapped kissing onto the family tree, the branches pointed to a startling conclusion. Neanderthals almost certainly kissed too, and it gets more intimate than that. We know from DNA that Neanderthals and our own ancestors met and interbred. There's a little Neanderthal in most people alive today. We also know the two species shared specific microbes that live in the human mouth, the kind passed by close oral contact. Put those together and you get something no movie ever showed you. Somewhere in an Ice Age landscape, tens of thousands of years ago, a human and a Neanderthal, two different kinds of human, leaned in and kissed. Not clubbed each other. Kissed. And here's how it lands on you. That gesture didn't die with them. It ran down through every generation between that moment and this one, mouth to mouth, parent to child, lover to lover for 40,000 years, and it ended up in you. So, how did humans invent kissing? Here's the honest, satisfying answer. We mostly didn't. We inherited it. The best evidence we have says kissing began as the final fur-picking lip press at the end of an 8 grooming session more than 16 million years ago. Our ancestors carried it. The Neanderthals carried it. And when we lost our fur, we kept that last gesture and slowly loaded it with everything else. Love, greeting, respect, grief. Watch the whole thing collapse into a single sweep. 21 million years ago, a shared ancestor of the apes. 40,000 years ago, a Neanderthal and a human. 4,500 years ago, a scribe pressing it into Mesopotamian clay. 2,000 years ago, a Roman deciding whether it's an osculum or a savium. And tonight, somewhere, two people you'll never meet, doing the exact same thing. They groomed, they inherited, they wrote it down, and they never stopped. And maybe that's the real answer. Kissing isn't something humans invented. It's something we never let go of. Which brings us back to that question that sounded too dumb to ask. You've done it 1,000 times. You never thought about it once. But now you know what you were really doing. Not a modern habit. Not a human invention. A 21-million-year-old echo of an ape picking the last burr from a friend's fur. Still alive and the most tender thing two people can do. So the next time you lean in to kiss someone goodnight, know what it really is. You're not starting something new. You're finishing something impossibly old. It never stopped. It's still you.